Hello, everybody. Jak Syn here on behalf of Fiend.com and Future Daze, and today I am sitting with Power Rob for Album Talk. How you doing today?
Pretty good. Not doing too bad. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. I just went to my first drive-through haunt last night, and I am off for the next 5 days, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Could be worse. Definitely could be worse. I kind of feel that, I guess I'm kind of lucky that my day job teaching voices doesn't really feel like a job, but after a couple sessions after tonight, I know I'm heading down to a very secluded condo in Ocean City with some close friends of mine for some socially distant hanging out at the beach without actually going to the beach, just enjoying the view over top of a condo. But it's looking forward to that, I suppose, myself. And similar, like sort of similar situation.
Well, that's actually pretty awesome. I mean, because that right there, even though you're near the beach, you're right next to the beach, you can still enjoy all of that beautiful scenery, all of the beautiful nature, the sea breeze. Oh, it just sounds amazing.
I'm looking forward to that.
Have a great time.
Yeah, it's the closest thing to aesthetic. I mean, the most aesthetic thing I did last year was Pit Viper had sent a pair of their Miami Night sunglasses, the white ones I had before, to Orlando for my band Thrillkiller on a tour for us to pick up at the Orlando venue, and then we played Miami with the Miami Night sunglasses. And I was like, that was probably the most aesthetic thing we did that year. This is the closest I can make happen, all things considered. So at least it's something. I can draw in some aesthetic for music or something. I don't know.
Exactly. You get some really bitchin' pictures at sunset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's going to be great.
Yeah, bring my sunglasses collection over. Yeah, these guys. Yeah, bring all of them over. A lot of the. There's one pose I like a lot that people like. Some people do it, some people don't. I don't know why, like holding your sunglasses like this, like you're looking at something. I don't know why it looks cool, but like I do it in a lot of shots, and until people think it's you're doing it too much, you might see a lot of those selfies. Like, oh yes, adjusting the sunglasses, fun.
Well, hey, you know what? That's always a good shot because it looks like you're thinking very intently about something.
Yeah, it's funny because it's supposed to never actually do, but man, like it's a shot I did for Thrillkiller. It's one of my profile photos where like I'm up against this blue lit wall, and there's these pink almost like armrests at this place called Angel's Rock Bar. We film there a lot. In fact, most of our music film shots are there. We just managed to use the parts strategically, so it doesn't look like it's the same venue in a lot of the shots. But like, there's a back wall. The whole thing's just pink, and this pink backdrop with like a blue undertone, and then there's armrests that are glowing blue. And there's a shot where I'm like up against looking at the pink wall. And if you actually look at what I'm functionally doing, like this is the wall, and I'm like kind of just looking at this into it. It looks really cool, but in actuality, what I'm like staring at a wall like this. It's like you look like a goofball, but with the angle, it looked really cool. So I don't know why. Yeah, that one shot, like it's an aesthetic pose that's never actually functional.
Well, hey, it's sticking with you.
I'll see a few of them, I guess.
So today, we're going to get into your music, talk a little bit about what you have going on, and if you're ready to get into it.
Sure, let's do it.
So tell us about your new music.
There's a lot going on. We'll start mainly with Power Rob. It's an EP coming out called Runaway. It's the debut for that project. It's a solo synthwave project I'm working on with Aztec Records, and there was some fun history behind that because those guys hit me up. I think it might have been March. It was right around the time the lockdowns had begun. I was talking to Lau, and which funny enough, I forgot how we became friends on Facebook. I think she may have added me. I may have added her, but I saw a story of hers which had it was Freddie Mercury. And so just out of just seeing that, I was like, oh, cool. So I sent her I did a studio cut of Save Me. And I was like, hey, you might find this interesting. And the next thing you know, she's like, hey, let's work together on something. Let's build something with Aztec. And so I went ahead, we started talking. She sent me a couple songs. And one of them was one of the songs that's going to be released called Strung. Really fun tune. And I recorded the vocals to what they wrote over that one. That was the only one that I didn't have a hand in any kind of the writing on, but solid track. After I tinkered with that one, I recorded initially the cover. There's a cover on the release coming out I can talk about. We did a synthwave cover of Careless Whisper, and I knocked that out the day lockdowns began in Maryland. I went to my studio and we wrapped it up. Like I lived the night before, I was like, hey, let's try Careless Whisper, and then that morning of, she already had a early cut of the song. And so the vocals actually were completed before the music fully was. We literally banged it out really fast because I was like, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get back in here. And so we ended that session 16 minutes before Maryland lockdowns began, and then I got out of there. So that's Careless Whisper. That's actually, I believe, it's the first one that was completed. And then for a while after I built the vocals on those songs, she asked if I had any other stuff. And one of the things I like a lot about Aztec is they have a very strong sense of quality control. And what that means is like they have a very specific sound of what they're looking for in certain projects. And you know, in my bands over the years, a lot of people kind of like they have a lot of faith in what I write, and sometimes it feels like every once in a while I would like to have some sort of constructive criticism that's a little more critical because I always try to push myself or find new ways to explore different sounds. And so I sent them stuff from my vault, like I had like finished enough material to show people. Some stuff that I was really proud of, but it didn't quite fit the bill for them. And so I remember I saw it was a challenge. I was like, okay, well, let's build something that I know they're going to like something that I think is going to knock it out of the park. And around that time, I was getting pretty passionate about wearing masks and like getting over this virus. And somebody hit me up saying, "Hey, could you make a PSA jingle for wearing masks?" And so I was like, okay, let me think of the most catchy 80s chords I possibly can. You know, initially it was for like this cheesy kind of like tongue-in-cheek video. It's just like a 80s, PSA thing. And I came up with a vocal melody. Literally, the whole thing started coming together in maybe about 20, 30 minutes. And I was like, man, this is hooky. It's like really hooky. So I took a phone recording of me singing against my computer, which had the MIDI file, to Laura. And they liked the melody. And I was like, okay, like let's see if we turn it into a full song. Okay. And so I started working on the melodies for that tune, which then became Runaway. And I had a kind of I had a pretty strong opinion about the title Runaway, because I noticed that it was actually used by a number of great artists in the 80s. And I noticed we had a lot of those in Synthwave. Like we had a lot of Runaways. And so as a working title, I was joking like, okay, I'll just call this one Runaway, you know, and I'll find something later that, you know, it fits. And as I worked backwards from the line, because it fit in there very nicely, and it just like I was like, you know what, let's make this about an actual runaway, you know, not about like, hey, let's run away together and all, you know, most of them typically are, or nothing against that, but I was like, let's actually go into like, you know, like I know Rockwell had a really good song called Runaway. I know that Bon Jovi obviously had a good song called Runaway. All these different songs that title, but some of them were actually pretty dramatic, like pretty cinematic. And I was like, let's do that. Like let's go into like more like a story as opposed to something that was like a bit more familiar, like lyrically in Synthwave. So it just kind of turned into the tune. And so I was like, okay, if they're gonna want this for the album, I want to go to the best engineer I know. And that's when I went to Tony Corelli. That guy was behind a lot of the bigger Thrillkiller songs, San Francisco Moto, those tunes, like Wicked Rhythm, and also the one coming up for our new music film. So I knew that if I went to him, you know, he's a very established electronic artist. He was featured briefly on Fix It. I think it was Fix It Neon's website for a remix he did. So I knew that if I went to him to take my MIDIs, you know, my MIDI files I built, he could help me turn it into something that was like really good on the production side. Because, you know, I think my strengths as a writer are melodies, rhythms, and lyrics. But when it comes to all that other stuff, you know, I'd rather have someone who knows better what they're doing to do it. So I remember we worked in it a lot, and then we sent it over for consideration to Aztec, and you know, they're in the UK, so it's usually late. So usually when I talk to them, it's like 3 or 4 a.m. And so I set the track. We were done after like 3 days of just off and on, just meticulously building every little tiny vocal part, all the backup instruments, you know, the lead instrument, all that stuff. And they liked it. And it was like this, we were just like, all right, like, way to go, Tony. Like, I think we got this. And that was Runaway. So I was proud of the tune because it's a tune I'm very proud of, but mainly it also accomplished something. It was, you know, I wanted to prove not just that, you know, they liked my voice a lot, but I wanted to prove to them that I could write, you know, I could, you know, do that aspect of it. And so, yeah, Runaway is definitely, because of that whole journey, it has become an even more special song to me, because the songs that they were not necessarily as thrilled about, I'm still quite proud of them, but they were songs that I wrote my vocals on and I just collaborated on people with. So there was like, you know, me being featured with somebody else. So I wanted to see if I could build something from the ground up with just me building the melodies, the structures of the song and the vocals. And if I could do that, if I could accomplish that and like do a home run, then I was satisfied. And so that's Runaway. And the other songs I'm very proud of as well, but that's the Power Rob stuff. We just filmed some sets for Retro Future Fest. They have a weekender event coming up. We have an HD Megatronix set that's in there, and Power Rob's doing a live performance that we filmed as well. So it's been busy. I'm very excited that I can. I always wanted to do straight synthwave at some point, just to give it a shot. I usually found myself flirting with it, like with Thrillkiller. We injected synthwave in a lot of songs, 80s funk, those kind of things. Megatronix was, it was really fun, like merging power metal and synthwave. And I know Line of Fire is pretty close to a straight synthwave song, but this was, some of the first few times I was like, well, let's just do like Outrun, synthwave proper, and just look at it from a pop vocals perspective, like really get in there, with some, kind of vocal nerd stuff, and see if I could get some of those 80s pop tones people are looking for, and just, put my fingerprints on it. So that's Runaway. And we dropped a song with Elevate the Sky called So Alive. That was a fun tune. And I got a bunch of other ones. I would say probably got something close to 15 or 20 songs that are either tracked or being tracked, that are just on the irons in the fire. So by the time I release one song, my head's kind of already on another one, where I'm like, okay, like last night, I'm proud of So Alive, but like when people are hearing that, like I listened to So Alive in the studio so many times, because I'm so picky about how things work in songs like that. Like I was confident people were going to like it, but I was like, man, my ears are so burned out on this song. Like I'm like ready to, like we debuted it on Night Ride FM. I was really happy people liked it, but like I left the chat after that to, thank everybody, to go to the studio to build something else. Like I just continue tinkering with other stuff. Because without live shows, I've got to find something to fill time. So
that's very true. It's like with everything going on, it's like now it's like the time for creativity. And your song right there, Runaway, it's a good song. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's got a lot of those feels, a lot of those influences. You definitely pick up a lot of that 80s pop feel that you were going for, and I think it really worked out really, really well. I mean, the production quality on it is really great. Your vocal range is really, really great in there, and you get that action dynamic, in your face, dancey, funky atmosphere that you get. Things that you talk about in the song. Yeah, a Runaway right there. It's like, we talk about like, synthwave and stuff like that, where we talk about, a lot of people talk about, like Runaway with Me, and all this kind of stuff. But this is actually telling a story about, hey, this is a runaway, finding the way in the world. You know what I mean?
Yep. I'm glad you noticed that. Like, I like a lot of songs titled that. Like, I got the FM Attack album that has it. I enjoyed that release. It's definitely stuff that I enjoy. But I figured that, like, for instance, one of my favorite songs titled that is probably the song Runaway by Rockwell. Rockwell was interesting because his father, I forgot the name of the record. It was a record label. God, it slipped me. But his dad was a really big record executive who worked with Michael Jackson. And he changed his name to Rock. One of the reasons he changed his name to Rockwell is he didn't want his dad to know, because he wanted to do it himself. Like, he wanted to put his name out there and, not reveal, hey, look, I'm just, like, it's you don't want to, like, become successful because of nepotism, which is, you gotta give him credit for that. But he's the guy that made Is Somebody Watching Me, that had the Michael Jackson vocal over top. He wrote other songs, though. And that's what's, like, initially I thought it was just that tune would be a good song. No, he's got a song called Runaway, and it's got some great hooks in it, it's got some vocals in it, and more importantly, lyrically, it's also, like, musically and lyrically, aside from the title, the songs show no similarities. It's just kind of tone, really. And that was enough for me to be like, okay, I think this is, like, in my opinion, like, if you were to write about a song called that, this is the way to do it. Or again, like, the Bon Jovi one, which is still similar. But initially, it was, I didn't want to call it that initially. It was kind of just more like a kind of a joke. I was like, okay, so many songs called this. Like, let's just put it over top, because it just hooks. It just hooks nicely right there. I'll find something later. I couldn't. And so I was like, all right, we're going to commit to this then. We're gonna make this the best Runaway I possibly can make it, and try to give it some purpose for the title. So yeah, that was the story of that guy. Pretty proud of it. Definitely a pricey one. I went in there for so many sessions with Tony, and then he gave a lot of free time too. So I got to give a lot of credit to Tony helped me out on that one. But yeah, that is one of the songs I've probably spent the most time on, just obsessing, like, everything down, like, I got down to, like, the milliseconds on the vocals. Like, there's a lot of times that I write vocal melodies, like, actually when I was working with Penetrator, when I was working with them, my vocals, there was something going on with the bit rate, with the way it was translated from recorded with Tony, then they sent it to Penetrator. And so when I was listening to the Penetrator mix initially, my vocals sounded off. like not the way I recorded them. And they were like, well, it looks fine to me. They pulled the grid up, see, my vocals are on time. And I was like, I don't care about the grid. My ear is like going off. There's something wrong. And so the engineer confirmed to me that indeed, because of the difference in bitrate, my vocals were nudged 5 milliseconds off, all of them. And it was so, and they couldn't notice. Like when I brought it up, it was like, yeah, they're all 5 milliseconds. It was like this. They're like, milliseconds, really? So like that over time I've become that way. But like a lot of times, a really great hook will boil down to those tiny things. Like we obsessed about when it was the right time to land on the word fool in the hook. We modified that one. I adjusted that one so many times, and then eventually we went back to the way that it was in an earlier mix. But that, yeah, I drove poor Tony insane because I couldn't figure out like the don't be another and right on fool. Like, should we hesitate? Should we do it this time? And sometimes I'm like the best vocals to work with or the most agitating because I'll hear stuff like tiny little things like yeah, like Notorious, that tune from Megatronix. There's a part of this in the verse where it's like yeah, it's like it's so straight from heaven, the need must be given, I'm giving in. The giving up part, that is actually deliberately flat at the beginning of it to bend up to make that nice little blues sound. Well, auto-tune does not like that. And so it automatically made it on pitch. And so I literally, one of my notes was like, get rid of it. Like, take it off there. Because instead of going, give it up, I want to get a nice, like, giving up, giving in. It's like those tiny little things, like you might not notice it, but your ear does. And so that's me in the booth where I'm like, get the processing off there. Cool. All right, now this part here. So eventually I'm going to be able to hopefully do the engineering part on my own and not give people aneurysms. But that is, yeah, that's kind of obsessive I get in the booth.
Well, you know what? Hey, you know, I'm excited for everybody to be able to hear this track Runaway. I'm excited for everybody to check it out, and I'm excited for all the things you guys have coming up because I know they're going to be freaking amazing. So thank you for sharing that with us.
My pleasure. I love talking about this kind of stuff.
What can all the fans expect from you coming soon?
A bunch of things. I think depending on the projects, like when we filmed the sets for Retro Future Fest, first off, that's happening. Let me actually get the date here. That is the 24th and 25th of this month. So you'll be able to see Megatronix live for the first time since January. And we went overboard on this one because they just asked, the Retro Future Fest asked for live sets for everybody. But when I talked to the Robbie about that, I was like, listen, if we're going to do it, let's do it. And so we got a light crew, and we got fog machines, lasers. We got this great venue that we called Church on the Rock in Millersville. They have live performances a lot that are live streamed. They have an entire rig, great stage, and they were gracious enough to let us film there. And I would like to, hopefully things work out, we'll be able to film there again. But yeah, after Retro Future Fest, we want to do more live stream events like that. So it is a live experience, and it's about as authentic as it gets. But it's not just like we go all the way. It's not like we're filming ourselves in our practice space or something. And nothing wrong with that. But for us, it's like if we had the tools to do it, like we're driving ourselves insane with editing, but like we want to make sure like it is as great as possible, you know, as best as we can. So I think we'll do more of that after Retro Future Fest, just on our own or different projects. Thrillkiller, I know especially because the virus, you know, being a 4 or 5 man band, it's hard to get together and, you know, find shows that can accommodate without, you know, breaking social distancing. But Thrillkiller has a lot coming. I like the music film. That is filmed. It is completely filmed. The music for it is pretty much finished. I have to do a little bit of editing on 2 parts of it, but expect that in probably the next month or 2. Digital Desperado is the title of Thrillkiller Music Film 3. That is going to be absolutely wild. Like the first 2 got good reviews from people for the most part. I'm happy about that. But this new one, it takes the absurdity of number 2 and just dials it to 11. The fight scenes, the bad puns, like it is as bad, is as fun of an 80s cheesy time as possible. We got an MMA instructor to work with us. We got to use his gym for rehearsals. We got to use the Baltimore War Memorial. It's this gorgeous, massive venue that I got to do a giant rock opera thing at with this symphony a couple years ago. I managed to snag it for Thrillkiller 3. So it has these gigantic, like marble pillars and stuff. It's massive hallways. Like, it's this gigantic set we used. We got the best lighting designer in Baltimore for that one, Chris Allen, nicknamed the Lighting Dragon by the Baltimore Rock Opera Society. He hooked us up with lights. We had all the costumes from the first two we inherited from this professional theater company. We have crazy weapons. I can tell one of them. The other one is a surprise. One is a time katana, and also the other one is this guy. We called it a. I forgot the name of it. Yeah, I think it's called. I forgot what we call it. Yeah, Power Fist. Yeah, this guy. So there's a video. We showed a teaser of one of the attacks where like I hit the buttons and it says last week that shows up in front of me, and then I punch a guy into last week and he shows up in front of himself like all like what, and then it cuts back to all these terrified bad guys. Look at him. Boo! And he just run away. It's like all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Thrillkiller 3. We filmed that last year in November. Is that's on the way. Megatronix may have a cover or two. I don't know what Robbie wants to spoil, but I have tracked vocals for 2 additional songs that people have not heard yet. We're editing those soon. We also are looking into doing something on video as well. So the Megatronix camp is still moving quite nicely. I have been working with my buddy Daniel Lipolito from Italy, really good synthwave artist. We had a couple tracks he released online. They did quite well, but he sent me a new one about a year ago. That's all tracked. Just up to him to mix it now. And I think Scott, Elevate the Sky, and we had a lot of fun working together. So him and I are already building song number 2. But yeah, a bunch of stuff. It's gonna be a fun year, I think.
I definitely. You have a lot of great things coming out. Like, I'm excited for Thrillkiller 3. I think that's going to be amazing. I mean, from some of the stuff that you've sent me that I've seen so far, pretty top-notch stuff. You guys really put a lot of energy into that, and that's just so great that you were using everything that you had at your disposal to make an amazing sequel to what you had before. And also too, like all the other things that you're working on with all these various artists, like even with Scott from Scotty from Elevate the Sky,
Another guy.
It's a great guy, and I'm glad that you have stuff coming with him, and like everything you guys have that even Megatronix having these few new covers, I'm excited to hear about those as well. But I know like once everything starts to drop and fall into place, I know it's really going to be bitchin'. And I cannot wait to see you guys at Retro Future Fest, because that performance sounds like it's going to be super epic. And that's what it's about. Like during the lockdowns and everything that we're experiencing during the pandemic, is that you see a lot of artists now who are elevating that live stream aspect, really kind of going out to venues and like using that area to like film huge concert stuff, which is really, really great. It really kind of opens up a whole new world of possibilities for people at home to see their favorite artists perform and really feel like they're right there in the front row,
Yeah, it's interesting when we got hit up to do retro. Robbie initially was like, "Hey man, let's just film ourselves at the practice space," and I was like, "Hold on. Number one, we have not played a show in 7 months, and this is kind of, I guess, a testament to, our work ethic here, but Megatronix before our first few shows, which I think went well, we actually never practiced in the same room together, because it's mostly just to a backing track. So I told him, I was like, okay, first off, you and I have to rehearse first for a good amount, because we've not played shows in 7 months. I have not done shows in 7 months. I keep my voice relatively in shape with lessons, but like it's one thing to teach a couple lessons and work on technique. It's another thing to do a full Megatronix set. So I started hustling on training. Like I've developed a brand new vocal training regimen. I use a treadmill and I basically just practice like Iron Maiden for hours just to build the lungs up, and it paid off. But I literally did it the day before Megatronix filmed, and like he really pushed. Like he went to work on his guitar and all that, and I told him like I have a lot of respect for Retro Future Fest. It's a great event, and I said if we got the opportunity to play this, like. And we have the ability, again, with the music films we've done, with our connections and all that, I was like, I know we can put together something that will go above and beyond what they're asking for. And so that literally was a couple weeks of work. Like even Wednesday, we filmed it 2 weeks ago. I was at the studio just doing, some edits and like EQs and all that. Because the first time we filmed it, the flash drive they were using was corrupted. And so we did the entire set and all this 2 times with additionals and additional takes. And then I'm listening to it, and it's all messed up. And I was like, oh, my God, that was a practice run. We had to redo it again. So it was like 2 weeks of just hustling, getting the crew together, all this stuff. And but, yeah, I think if you're going to do something, especially now, because people are, I know people are dying for the live experience. I was a little bit, because I've done over the last few years I've done shows, I was getting a little tired of it. Not because I didn't like it, but just I felt overwhelmed. And then once this all happened, yeah, I've been getting the itch again. You know, I kind of want to go hit the stage again. Yeah, I don't do any of this because I think I'll become some giant, you know, massive superstar. I'm going to put everything I have into it, but I don't think it's easy money. I do it because I love it. And you know, if there is some, you know, massive whatever happens towards like fame or whatever, that's great. But like I do the music films and all that because it's what I would want to see. You know, if someone's got the ability to do it, I'd want to see it. And same with this stuff with Megatronix and Power Rob. You know, I if I'm going to see a live set, I want to see a live set that's closest to my ability. We do have some live stuff we were offered. It is outdoors. I don't want to make announcements we've agreed to it yet. I'm being very picky about precautions. But number one, it's got to be outdoor. Number two, it's got to be socially distant. And then another part of my prerequisites is I'm going to watch the area we've been invited to. If the rates get even remotely bad, I have a pull-out clause so we can just get out. So we are negotiating some stuff right now. It's looking good, but we might actually hit the stage for Megatronix again. But I want to make sure if we do it, we dot our I's and cross our T's. So that might be a thing soon, but it will be with precautions for sure.
Exactly, because right there, that's what's more important than anything right now is like making sure that everybody's safe.
Yeah.
And it's what I was touching on earlier. It's like me going to a drive-through haunt. I went to my first drive-through haunt yesterday, and I gotta say, it's like we are adapting really well to the current situations that are going on in the world. But yes, at a concert, it's a different beast. It really is a different beast because people, it's about being together. It's about, even though it's outdoors, it's like you have to still take that precaution in any way that you can because people like to scream and yell and all that stuff. And guess what happens? It's like people spit when they talk. People, they belt it out. They get... it's just a lot. It's a lot of factors. But hey, if you're able to do it, and you're able to pull it off. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And you could also possibly even, if you choose to, you can probably even stream it too if you want to.
Yeah.
But hey, that's all the great parts about it right there is that we have adapted and we are continuing to adapt every single day with all of the creativity that we have going on in the world right now.
Yeah, I mentioned before we began the interview too that there was a silver lining in terms of the entertainment industry regarding this. It's not much of one. I mean, that what's happened to the entertainment industry is incredibly unfortunate. But looking on the bright side of it all, it has really been revealing the grit and determination of a lot of the people that are in this because they love it. Paul Stanley put it best. He's one of my favorite, just singers or writers, just inspirations kind of as a performer. And it was years ago, back after streaming had started kind of hitting the industry pretty bad, and someone asked him, what do you tell an up-and-coming musician? And he says, don't do it. And he said, and they're like, what do you say? Well, I tell him don't do it because, first off, elaborating what he's saying, he's like, you do it because you have to. If you have to do it, then do it. But if you do it because you think it's some sort of easy money or, this is some sort of easy way to become rich, don't do it. And elaborating on what I think he meant there was also, if someone telling you don't do it is enough for you to not do it, then you really don't have what it takes to go in this. Not because you need to be as an amazing performer, but because it's not going to be easy. That's enough to deter you. If you want to really take it seriously, then, maybe that kind of a comment is handy then. But that matters more than ever, and especially now. You can't even play a lot of the shows to back up your project. So if you're doing it, do it because you have to. Most of my days, I wake up, I train, and then I teach usually if it's a day I'm teaching, and then I do morning cardio. Then I go back for weights. Because I try to make sure we have something we're filming soon. I want to make sure I'm ready for that. I'm doing internet fasting to get ready for that. If I'm not doing that, there's probably some sort of a session for a song coming up, and the only monetary benefit I have is because my day job as a vocal coach, my music is considered advertising for my vocal coach business, which means I can write it off as a tax write-off. That's about it. Most of the money, thankfully Megatronix, we are in a position with all the streams and stuff we've made, fortunately, where it's one of the few projects we have that is relatively self-sufficient, where it can pay for its own studio time. But we don't make any cash off of it. It's really, the money we make goes right into backward investing because it's something we love to do and we have to do it. And you're seeing that. You're seeing a lot of people, the ones that have to do it, you're seeing what they will do in order to continue to do what they love to do. So he's going to, I think, bring out the worst in some people in the industry and the best in a lot of others. And the best being, for instance, your example, they're going to find a way to make it work. They're going to find a way to adapt. So, I think the landscape That's gonna be very different. And I also think that, you know, vocalists' instruments, when they're not being used enough, they can degrade. They can get out of practice. They can lose their conditioning, at least the higher end ones, like in terms of technical stuff. So I was telling some students of mine, I was like, you know, you guys are still hustling. You're still working on your voice. And I think that when this is over with, and it will be, but when it is, we're going to see a lot of singers may not quite have what they had at the beginning, that they had before all this, that have to kind of shake off the rust. And then a lot of new ones that were taking the time to hone their skills, to build what they can do, start becoming frontrunners, you know, and nice top talents. So it will be interesting. I think it's going to really bring out the best in a lot of us, but at least that's the best way to look at it. You know, really, you can't really, you know, get despaired. But I'm excited to keep pushing forward. And you know, when it came back to training and stuff, you know, I told people, yeah, I want to, you know, cut a little weight down. This is this. And I'm like, well, did someone tell you that? Nope, no one did. I do it because I'm trying to find myself something, you know, give myself something hard to do, you know, because you don't commit yourself to something like that because it's easy. You do it because you want to, you give a routine to yourself. But yeah, I think that shows will return. Power Rob will be interesting to do live because I believe it's effectively just a backing track in me. It's like my bands over the years got progressively smaller in band members. Like Aries was my old band. That was like 5 members. Thrillkiller was at 5 at its peak, sometimes with a guest member, so sometimes 6. Now we're down to 4 because, you know, we just felt it was easier just to kind of downsize a bit. And Megatronix is 2, you know, and now Power Rob is just 1. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out.
I know it's going to be interesting. I know it's going to be great. And I know that because you're doing it, it's going to be elevated. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. To everybody out there, it's like with everything happening, it's like if you are a musician and you're an artist now and you are kind of pushing all that you can every single day, you are on the right track. You know, nothing is ever going to be easy. Nothing is ever going to, you're never going to get your full return that you put into anything that you ever do when you're creating music or working as an artist in any type of thing that you do, as far as like money or anything like that. But you will gain perspective, you will gain knowledge, and you will gain experience. And that right there is what's important. So to everybody out there, keep creating, keep adapting, keep pushing, and keep doing amazing things, just like Rob here, everybody. Because this guy is going some amazing places.
Appreciate it.
So thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and do this album talk with me today.
My pleasure.
I appreciate you, everybody out there, taking the time to watch us have this conversation. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our Fiend YouTube channel, as we have many more awesome album talk interviews on the way. So to everybody out there, dream it, build it, and let it grow. And be sure to check out Power Rob's amazing stuff he has coming out very, very soon. And as well as the Retro Future Fest they have coming up very, very soon as well, because it's going to be awesome.
Thanks, guys.